Alrighty, how's it going, everybody? Dropped frames already. Wow, holy shit. I don't even have anything going on right now. App is using the microphone. Oh, let me close this out. 'Cause it's doing shit. Okay. Alright, yeah, we're dropping frames and I hadn't even done anything yet besides have the tabs open. Let me pause my side of the stream because I don't need that open. So the debate is actually just, it's a wide berth of really dumb shit. And I don't like either one of these guys, by the way. Caleb Maupin is, he works for the Russian government. And Jason Unruhe, his like primary political position is just hating America. But I don't think he's necessarily bad. I just think he's not great. So, out of the two, I would root for Unruhe over Maupin in this. And I've seen this debate a few times already from different, like, had different people cover it. And I've covered it before, but the audio freaked out. So, I need to figure out which one that was and delete it. Is everything coming through okay? Yeah, that's that, and that's that. So we should be good. We'll get a sound test here.
Hey everybody, welcome. So today Alright,
I wanted to skip through his dumb intro because it's dumb. I don't like it. I don't like anything about this guy. I would watch it from Unruhe's perspective, but literally nothing happens. Like, you don't get anything but a image on the screen. So,
I guess the first question I wanted to ask you was shortly before this debate, I think you were unhappy that I referred to you as Maoist rebel Jason Unruhe. What would you like me to call you?
Jason Unruhe, as you have always called me for years.
Okay, so you don't want Maoist rebel in front of your name?
That's not how, that's the name of the show. That's not my name.
Okay, well, I just thought that was the name of your brand. I meant no offense by it, and I'll actually go and change it right now while we're talking, if you don't mind.
Well, that's kind of undercut by the fact that you put it in quotation marks.
That's what you call your brand. I mean, no offense.
liberal infighting already.
No offense was made by it. So I guess I just want to ask you a series of questions and give you an opportunity to respond. The first one that I wanted to ask you is back in 2017, when you and I were still on friendly terms, the World Festival of Youth and Students, which is a global communist gathering, was happening in Sochi, Russia for the 100-year anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution. And, you know, the communist parties of the world were going to be there. The DPRK, which you're very supportive of, you know, sent delegations, the Communist Party of Vietnam, and I really wanted you to go to that. And I reached out to you, and, you know, the organizers of the festival had seen your work online, the good work you were doing, defending DPRK, defending Cuba and such. And they wanted you there. You didn't really seem interested in going. Why not?
I can't.
Why
Technically
not?
speaking, I'm in an economic condition right now where given a particular relationship and dynamic that I have with the government, I have to report any time that I leave the country for any extended period of time. And that's...
So this is just some... He's calling back to something that he thought Unruhe wouldn't have a good answer for, to try and paint him in a more negative light, because that's what Maupin does, is try and paint people in negative light immediately before even starting the actual discussion at hand. He's a dishonest piece of shit.
Not something I can do. There's a complicated situation there. Then I don't know what this has to do with my allegedly childish attacks on you.
Well, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's almost like
you're
you're trying to frame me as a person who doesn't care about the global movement. I really see this has nothing to do with what it is that you asked me to come on here for.
No, I mean, it was just a series of things I was going to ask you about. But, you know, I thought it would have been really awesome if you'd have been there because, you know,
I would like to have gone.
Yeah, my social media was at that point way smaller than yours was. And
all right, so we're just going to skip past that.
In the Western capitalist countries is really United States that are It was published in 1960 by the Chinese Communist Party. Very important. Africa, I mean, they're under the gun of U.S. imperialism. So, you know, whenever there's people in Canada or the United States that are talking against imperialism, talking about socialism, they're very interested in it. And it's very important what we do. And that actually brings me, so there's a document that I've always really liked, and it's called Long Live Leninism. It was published in 1960 by the Chinese Communist Party. It's one of the main documents that Mao wrote to criticize the revisionism of Khrushchev. And I'm actually dropping it in the chat.
Oh, a little bit of a background. Caleb Maupin, yeah, as I said earlier, he works for the Russian government as a reporter for RT, at least up until they shut down their offices in America because Dish Network dropped them, so they don't have anywhere who will allow them to broadcast. So he doesn't really have that going for him anymore. He is trying to promote this patriotic socialism. This is where you can actually understand that there's a conflation quite often between patriotism and nationalism. They are parallel, but not the same thing. He's more of a National Socialist, for anyone who knows what that actually is. And for those of you who don't, it's Nazi. He does a lot of JQ posting. He actually had a discussion with another person recently and kept saying a whole bunch of people were bad, and if you look all of them up that he said, every single one of them was Jewish and a socialist.
Right now, so people can take a look at the link. And that my next question is basically, you know, one of the most important paragraphs in that document. It says, the liberation movements of the proletariat in capitalist countries should ally themselves with the national liberation movements in the colonies and dependent countries. This alliance can smash the alliance of the imperialists and the...
Yeah. Lefties should ally themselves with revolutionary left-leaning movements in other countries to try and build solidarity across international lines, because the proletariat knows no nation, as in the proletariat is international. So we should be able to, as the working class, the people who actually do the labor, we should essentially go arm in arm and be able to bring down capitalism. I would like to do it personally as a peaceful manner. Caleb claims he would, but he also does this liberal, like, oh no, I would never support any violence. No, I would. It's just under certain circumstances. I mean, I prefer not.
Feudal, comprador, reactionary forces in the colonies and all dependent countries, and will therefore inevitably put a final end to the imperialist system throughout the world. That's what I view my work as doing, trying to align...
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Not the same thing at all.
...that are struggling against U.S. imperialism. What are you trying to do for that end, to achieve that?
What makes you think America is an ally of these things? The problem lies in what America is, what it has always been, and what, as long as it's America, what it will always be. Whatever vision of America you may or may not have with what it is that you want America to become, that is not what America is. And if that were to be achieved, it would no longer be America. It would no longer be what it is.
Okay, but I'm asking you, though, what are you...
He's right. For the most part. America, the geographical location, would be the same. However, the very nature of America, if it started supporting, you know, lefty revolutionary groups to support worker independence and proletarian states and shit like that, it wouldn't be America anymore. It really wouldn't. It would become something different, ideologically. Which, you know, based, but Unruhe's right. Now, Maupin is asking him, what are you doing to try and get people to do that? And everything Unruhe does is kind of in that vein. If you look at his channel, it's mostly shitting on American policies and trying to support fucking North Korea for some ungodly reason. I don't know. But that's him. He's got some absolutely batshit stuff going on. But there's some... He's fairly based in this conversation, or in this debate.
Trying to accomplish in aligning the liberation movements of the proletariat in the capitalist countries with the national liberation movements around the world.
to forward anti-imperialism. I don't understand what the point of your question is.
Well, like, I mean, my reading of that document is that those of us living in Western capitalist countries like Britain or France or the United States or Canada,
yes, I get that part.
Yes,
but I don't understand how
to align the working people of this country with the national liberation movements. And I'm just asking, what are you doing toward that end, or do you not think that's a good thing to do?
It's funny how this has turned into a criticism, and I.
This does seem a little bit dodging on Unruhe's part. However, Maupin is lying here. He's lying. Because you're supposed to ally yourself with national liberation movements. Taiwan does not want to be part of China. And he does not support that. He believes it's a part of China. So, he's immediate. That's kind of a redirect into a different thing.
Into a criticism, and I will answer your question. I will answer your question. It's interesting that you wanted to talk about my quote-unquote childish
we'll get
things
to
about you. Yeah, message I sent you on.
No, see, but here's the thing. I don't believe that you need to support every national liberation movement. Wait, literally no data?
Facebook before you blocked me. You said that I was pro-imperialist, and I called you out to a debate, and then you hid for a year.
Okay, well,
but to answer your question, I think
this is very related. Actually, that's why we're talking about what it means to be an imperialist in the Western countries.
I think I know. It's the very center of everything that I do. It's the first and foremost and primary contradiction.
So let's talk about it.
No, actually, your thing is about America. That's why you're a patriot.
Talk about that,
and that's why you don't support revolutionary suicide.
Okay, all right. So
exactly.
Answer my question, please. What
by
are you
allying
doing
myself and pushing I'm answering it right now.
Okay.
By pushing the idea of anti-imperialism and not supporting the substance of what America is, not just what America in the form that it takes, but the very substance, the very soul of what it is and what it was founded upon, opposing that, to push an anti-war sentiment, a real one, not a, it's nonsense, because it still went on. Regardless, by pushing the anti-war sentiment, the anti-imperialism, by allowing people to see what the damage that's done by imperialism, and more importantly, to have them understand why imperialism is a natural product of capitalism and why it can only ever be something that it produces. There's no way getting around it.
Yeah, we kind of would have to dismantle a lot of the institutions here. Let me reply to a couple of things. Okay.
Well, I mean, as far as Trump, I called out Trump for his criminal murder of Qasem Soleimani.
Irrelevant to the point. Literally completely irrelevant. You can coalesce in.
Now, that said, I mean, in some ways you might be able to argue he's better than Biden, but he still sucked. He was an awful president.
Name a way that he was better than Biden. I want him to name a way that he was better than Biden. Like, legitimately. On what issue was he better than Biden? He was worse on immigration. He was worse on economic policy. He was worse on infrastructure. He was worse on fucking domestic and foreign policy in every regard. Everything he did was a shit show.
So, I mean, as far as that, but I guess my question is, if we're trying to get working people in the Western capitalist countries to see people around the world struggling with U.S. imperialism and struggling against Canadian imperialism or French imperialism or British imperialism, to see the people around the world struggling against imperialism as their allies, how do we do that?
I literally just answered that.
So by
Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It's not just Israel. It is sold everywhere that we sell product. So anywhere that somebody is getting tear gassed, there's a chance it came from that exact company. But he has to bring up Israel. He has to.
Louis, Missouri is trained in Israel.
That is true. That's a little fucked.
Show that is a way of linking what the Palestinians are struggling against with what the black people of the United States are struggling against by making this, common bond.
You don't need to do that. Do you think you need to do that to convince black people to be leftist? You don't have to do that. You can just talk to them. Like, hey, this is what my shit's about. Don't you think this would be better? And, most of the time, when I lay it out to anyone, they go, yeah. Well, there we go.
Or showing that, the big oil companies that are reaping in super profits from these high gas prices are also the big oil companies that have kept Nigeria chronically poor for hundreds of years, despite at this point being the top oil exporting country in Africa. I think making those links and showing that the same corporations that are hurting American workers are also the same corporations that are pushing imperialism and devastating people around the world. I mean, I think showing American workers that they have an economic interest in defeating imperialism is our duty, right? I mean, we need to show.
I don't think that it's a good thing, but why would it be in America's economic interest to stop imperialism when that's how we have gathered the wealth this country has? Imperialism and stolen domestic profits based on productivity. That is what, our biggest increase in productivity and best standard of living at the same time was, the golden age of America. So we're kind of looking at things right now and going, we need to fuck this shit off because it's just going to keep happening. It's a pattern. We've done this before and we're back in the same position as we were in the Great Depression area.
Show American workers that imperialism doesn't benefit them.
It does benefit them. That's why imperialism exists.
It does benefit them.
Yeah, that's how rich countries become rich and poor countries stay poor.
Well, this confrontation with Russia has resulted in higher food prices, higher gas.
Please understand this more than anything else. And I know Unruhe's going to bring it up, but there is a difference between one country invading another that's not involved with us outside of economics. They have a lot of oil in Ukraine. And our country invading another for resources. Iraq, Latin America, all these other places. We took over Hawaii to get the ability to grow goddamn bananas.
It's
an entirely different situation.
No, Russia, that's imperialism. The domination by big corporations and banks and drug cartels and syndicates. That's what I define imperialism as.
It's not about the definition of imperialism. It's about whether or not the country is being plundered by the United States, which it isn't. It's absolutely incomparable to take a country like Indonesia or Thailand or Honduras and compare it to Russia. That's simply ridiculous. That's an interim imperialist. I am
comparing it to what is going on in
I
the United
am.
States, that the same big corporations that are pushing a confrontation.
Yeah, and I
with
just
Russia.
answered your question as to what the difference is.
All right. Okay. I'm going to mute you if you don't stop interrupting me.
He's interrupting Unruhe.
No. Now,
Well, you should let me
same
answer.
big corporations that are pushing for a confrontation with Russia have also hurt American workers. And so opposing this confrontation with Russia and fighting for jobs and schools and housing for American workers walks hand in hand, does it?
Okay, and your point being?
My point being that these imperialists are not patriotic. They are hurting American workers. They're hurting American families. They're setting up a low-wage police state. They've set up a prison industrial complex. They're driving down living standards. And they're also pushing for war abroad, and that we share a common destiny. The working people of the United States, their interest lies in standing with the people of Africa and Asia and Latin America against U.S. imperialism.
Yeah, and let me know when they start doing that.
Well, that's our job, Jason. That's our job.
That's what I've been trying to do. That's what we've both been.
Yeah, the problem is as Jason said, they probably will not give up on doing things the way that they are because it economically did benefit us. If we stop doing that, we lose economic benefits, which I'm in favor of. Like, we have more than enough in America. But I want everybody to be able to live on a level playing field. So
Trying to do. So I don't see what the point of contention here is.
Neither do I, and I don't understand why the hostility. But I guess now, since we
the way you're trying to phrase things,
we both agree, based on what you're telling me, that it is our job as Marxists in the Western capitalist countries to show a common interest between the working people here and their struggle against capitalism and the working people around the world and their struggle against imperialism. We agree on that. So we've established a point of agreement. So that brings me to a number. We're here to talk about your statements, and here we go. This is a statement that you made. I have got the screenshot. I'm just going to add it here to the stream. So I said, one odd pattern that you notice when looking over the history of Asia is that Christianity, brought by European missionaries, frequently got hijacked by revolutionaries, reinvented, and utilized by peasant revolutionary uprisings. This happened in Korea, Japan, China, and elsewhere. You responded by claiming that is historical revisionism.
So this is some bullshit that Maupin's doing with a huge amount of leaving out a lot of context.
1637.
Yes.
We're talking about Marxism. Okay. We're not talking about 1637.
Okay, I'm going to mute you now. In 1637, the people of Japan had an uprising. The peasants had an uprising after being converted to Christianity. They built a revolutionary army to fight against feudalism. And they fought against feudalism.
Okay, you know what? Oh, Shimabara. Okay. Shimabara Rebellion was in 1637. Okay. Let's look this up a little bit. Enforced unpopular. Okay, so Daimyo Shimabara domain enforced unpopular policies that drastically raised taxes to construct the new Shimabara castle and violently prohibited Christianity. Okay, that's not good. In December 1637, an alliance of local Ronin and mostly Catholic peasants led by Amaksa Shiro rebelled against the Tokugawa shogun. Oh, that's right, Tokugawa shogunate due to discontent over Katsui's policies. The Tokugawa shogunate sent a force of over 125,000 troops supported by the Dutch. Oh. To suppress the rebels and defeated them after a lengthy siege against their stronghold at Hara Castle. At Minami Shimabara. Oh, is a city in Nagasaki Prefecture, Japan. It occupies the southern tip. Okay. The following successful suppression of the rebel. Okay, yep. Portuguese traders suspected of helping them were expelled from Japan. gonna look over this. Okay, so how is this Marxist? Like, how is this a communist thing? Is it because it was a I bet it's because it was a rebellion. Their ideology, they were mad about high taxes and suppression, which, yeah, but that doesn't mean it's communist. Any ideological group could rebel for those reasons. So, huh. Okay, so yeah, nothing Marxist about it. So it has literally nothing to do with Marxism.
Feudalism. It was a huge civil war. It was a big, well-documented moment in Japan.
It wasn't even a huge civil war. It was 125,000 troops out of the million or so that the Tokugawa shogunate had. So it was a force that they sent in, but it wasn't a civil war. It was a rebellion that got suppressed by the government. That doesn't mean it's civil war necessarily.
Japanese history that after Christian missionaries had brought Christianity there, revolutionary forces tweaked it and changed it and made it their own. It wasn't the European Christianity. They, as I said, they hijacked it and they led a revolutionary uprising against feudalism in Japan. You claim that you have some evidence that this is all a hoax, this is a historical fraud, so please go ahead.
Well, now that you've unmuted me from trying to answer you, by the way, I don't really think you're one that can complain about anybody talking over them, considering the last time we did a stream like this, you talked over me, but I digress. As I had already stated, this has nothing to do with Marxism, and that's the point.
I did. I just said this is an odd historical pattern. And
yes, when you were doing this, justifying Christianity being a Christian communist. Yes, you did, because it was at the same time.
All right. Also, there was the taping.
I completely understand, Unruhe. You were answering. He interrupted you, and then he muted you to go on another fucking spiel.
Uprising of 1850 to 1861. 30 years
Christian communist. Yes, you did, because it was at the same time.
All right. Also, there was the Taiping Uprising of 1850 to 1861, 30 years before Mao was born. 20 to 30 million people died. They were led by the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, which was a Christian movement of peasants that fought against feudalism in China. When Mao took power, he actually built a monument to the Taiping Uprising. It's in Tiananmen Square. This is the biggest civil war in human history, in which Christian peasants in Asia who...
This is Taiping, not Taiping. Tianjin, now Ninjiang. After fighting the bloodiest civil war in world history with over 20 million dead, the established Qing dynasty won decisively, although at a great price to its fiscal and political structure. This was a big civil war. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking people. Wait, how long did this last? Fuck, 14 years pretty much. God damn. Oh. Yeah, I don't care. We're still going. Schools were religious, nationalist, and political in nature. Hong sought the conversion of the Han people to Taiping syncretic version. God worshipping societies, emperor worship was a religious movement founded by. Okay. To overthrow the Qing dynasty and a state transformation rather than supplanting the ruling class, the Taiping sought to upend the moral and social order of China. The Taipings established the Heavenly Kingdom as an oppositional state based in Tianjin and gained control of a significant part of southern China, eventually expanding to command a populous base of nearly 30 million people. For more than a decade, Taiping armies occupied and fought across much of the mid and lower Yangtze River, ultimately devolving into total civil war. It was the largest war in China since the Ming-Qing transition, involving most of central and southern China. Wait, hold on. It was the largest war since here? Okay, we're going to look into that too. Involving most of central and southern China. It ranks as one of the bloodiest wars in human history, the bloodiest civil war, and the largest conflict of the 19th century. In terms of deaths, the Civil War is comparable to World War I. 30 million people fled the conquered regions to foreign settlements or other parts of China. The war was characterized by extreme brutality on both sides. Taiping soldiers carried out widespread massacres of Manchus, the ethnic minority of House of Ice and Gyora. Meanwhile, the Qing dynasty also engaged in massacres, notably against civilian population. Weakened severely by internal conflict, an attempted coup, and the failure of the siege of Beijing. Yeah, Ba Sing Se, right? Beijing. I bet that's the whole thing that they were referencing in Avatar. The Taipings were defeated by decentralized provincial armies, such as the Jiang Army. Okay. Organized and commanded by Xing Guofan. Guofan? I don't know how you would pronounce that, I'm sorry. After moving down the Yangtze River and capturing the strategic city. Alright, so let's go to the... I just want the origins. Farmers were heavily overtaxed. Yeah, that makes sense. That's usually the reason people rebel. Rents rose dramatically. And peasants started to desert their lands in droves. The military had recently suffered disastrous defeat in the First Opium War, while the Chinese economy was severely impacted by a trade imbalance caused by the large-scale and illicit importation of opium. Banditry became common. Okay. Meanwhile, had increased rapidly, nearly doubling between 1766 and 1833. While the amount of cultivated land was stable, the government commanded by ethnic Manchus had become increasingly corrupt. It was weak in the southern regions where local clans dominated. Anti-Manchu sentiments were strongest in southern China among the Hakka community. Yep. Meanwhile, Christian missionaries were active. Oh yeah, okay, so always a problem there. Several years earlier, Hong declared that he now understood that his vision meant that he was the younger brother of Jesus and had been sent to rid China of the devils, including the corruption government and Confucian teaching. In 1847, Hong went to Yangzhou, where he studied the Bible with Issachar Jacques Roberts. For denying him Christian baptism, an American Baptist missionary in 1847. Fucking hell. Roberts refused to baptize him and later stated that Hong's followers were bent on making their burlesque religious pretensions serve their political purpose. Yeah. His follower Feng Yunshan founded the God Worshipping Society movement, which Taoism, Confucian, and just... Okay. Taiping Christianity. Fuck my ass. Alright. Okay, well, that's a lot of people who died. It's a lot of shit. You know what? We're going to get back to it.
You know,
it doesn't have anything to do with communism either.
Converted to Christianity, they tweaked it and adopted it for their own ends. They had an uprising against feudalism. Now, do you have evidence that this is a hoax? This is a fraud? It never happened?
As I have already said once, and you muted me as I was trying to answer you again, this has nothing to do with Marxism. That may be historically true. May or may not. I don't know. That was not the point of contention. The point of contention is that you posted this in order to justify Christian socialism or building a revolutionary thing around Christian. Because that was what you were going on about at the time. So now you're just...
Yeah, it's contextual. I've actually gone back and looked previously, and that is exactly what he was doing that he's currently denying. He's like, no, it's a standalone tweet. No, this was in a total string of things where he was talking about revolutionary Christian socialism.
Simply denying. So now you're just taking exactly what I said, denying the context. Okay,
so you're basically saying that I said something that is historically true, and you claimed it was false because you don't agree with a point you think I was trying to make. Is that correct?
That's not the point you were trying to make, and we're going to disagree on this. And once again, you muted me as I tried to answer.
Yeah, because you're interrupting me.
I'm not interrupting you.
No, I posted a historical fact, and you can believe the Taiping Uprising was very important to Mao, and studying it happened shortly before he was born, and the fact that he built a monument to it.
The Taiping Rebellion and the Shimabara Rebellion was just Christians joining in the rebellion because they were peasants who were also overtaxed and mistreated. And that's it. They just rebelled. They didn't want to overthrow the entire government. They just wanted to get a different fucking daimyo there.
It was a very important event that's very relevant to Marxism.
Never said it wasn't.
You just said that we're not talking, this isn't Marxism, it's not relevant because we're not talking about Marxism. I'd say it's pretty relevant. It's very similar to the peasant wars in Germany, an entire book that was written by Friedrich Engels about how the peasants in Germany, again, in the name of Christianity, rose up against feudalism. This is very relevant to Marxism. Marxism is a framework with which you can understand the entirety of human history. So you can study historical events from...
Marxism, yes. Communism, no. They are different things. And this right here, apparently Christianity was communist. There's different,
a Marxist framework. And it is true that many times throughout history, in Asia and elsewhere, and in Europe and in all kinds of places, there are people who, in the name of Christianity, have risen up against capitalism and imperialism. They've hijacked it as their own. That is a historical fact. And I don't know why you would deny a historical fact simply because you don't.
It wasn't against capitalism. Oh my god. Maybe Korea and Vietnam. But I doubt even Vietnam because they're capitalist. And Korea is... Well, South Korea is capitalist and North Korea is just a dictatorship. It's not really left... It's not left-wing. It's not fascist. It's just authoritarian.
Don't like something that I think I meant.
I mean, it's heavily militarized and likes to flex its power and stuff, but I wouldn't say that they're like... They might be. I'd have to look more into the like overall ideology that they spread and figure that out, because I don't know if they hit enough of the points on the Umberto Eco 14 points list, or the economic propositions, to be able to be considered fascist, just highly authoritarian.
When I said it or something, I don't get it.
Okay, now that took long enough. You're misrepresenting what I said. I'm not saying these things weren't of any historical significance. I didn't say that. I did not say... No, I didn't.
Yes, Camel, communism and Marxism are two different things. Most countries are capitalist, yeah. Like, almost all of them. I don't think Juche is very based. I mean, it can be useful in some instances, to be completely honest, but I don't think it's like good. But no, Marxism is a framework to study the world and history, and communism is economic and social prescriptions. So you can be a Marxist, as in you use Marx's critical theory and other sociological developments that he made to study as frameworks to study society and history, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you believe in communism as an economic proposition. I myself, I'm an anarcho-syndicalist. I believe syndicalism is going to be, at least when we reach that point, it will be a good bridge into something else that would be even better. I don't know what that is at this moment. I don't believe in anarcho-primitivism because that's stupid. Anarcho-syndicalism seems to be like a pretty good line. But no, you can be a Marxist and not be a communist. You can be a communist and not a Marxist, although that one's way rare. Marxism is just a analytical framework. Pretty much critical theory.
No, you know, as I had already clarified, that this was not about that. This is about modern day and you pushing a Christianity view. I am not denying these things in the past.
Yes, you are. You called it historical revisionism.
No, I am not.
And this is Maupin just thinking that historical revisionism means that you're denying an event happening instead of saying that somebody is altering the context of an event to serve their political purposes, to try and make a point when the reality is different than what they're claiming or hinting at.
Saying specifically right now, that's not what this is about.
Yeah, actually it is. If you say something's historical...
No. You can't separate communism from Marx. You can separate communism from Marxism. But you generally you pretty much will never find anyone who does. But Marxism is its framework, not the actual like economic and social prescriptions that are socialism or communism. Which socialism is technically just considered lower phase communism to Marx. He believed in 3 transitional phases. The dictatorship of the proletariat, which back in his day, dictatorship did not mean oppressive ruling force. It just meant rule of. Because there weren't like dictatorships in the same way that we use the word now. So rule of the working class. And then you would move into lower phase communism, where you start, phasing out state structures and other shit like that, and then you get to communism, where you have phased out money and classes, moneyless, classless society. So you're everybody's on equal footing. So there's a lot of interchangeability that people will use between communism and Marxism, but Marxism is a framework, so they're semantically incorrect when they say it.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. I am not saying that these things didn't happen.
Well, then why did you call it historical revisionism?
I didn't. In the context, you're changing the context of what I'm saying.
I mean, your tweet is right there on the screen.
You're changing the context of what I'm saying.
Everyone can see what you said. It's right there, Jason.
You dishonest piece of shit.
I talked about historical facts.
You're completely misrepresenting what I'm saying,
my friend.
Because I just said you're misrepresenting what I said. Yeah, I think that is a reason.
You're misrepresenting what I said.
That's exactly what Bosch did to you.
No, I said historical facts,
and that was not the context that you were saying.
Revisionist. You denied history basically because you don't agree with me.
I am saying right now specifically, I am not denying those things happened, nor did I intend to say that then. I was specifically referring to modern day and Marxism. Yes, such and such individual. Okay, so you say, I don't believe you.
Okay, so you claimed that me talking about a historical event was false because you believe that
no, in the context that you attempted to
about something now. What is the context? I'm talking about history.
The context, which I have already said 3 times previously, was you were using this as a justification to push Christian Marxism.
Yes. I've already looked at the context. I'll tell you right now. Yeah, it's true. Maupin is a super dishonest fuck. Like, he's a very dishonest fuck. You can't trust Maupin. Now, also, I've heard Maupin. It's funny because he's been muting Unruhe for interrupting, whereas he's interrupted Unruhe during answers all the time with no impunity. He interrupted Vosh when they talked. He interrupted that other fucking person when they were talking. Like, Jesus Christ, I don't remember all the conversations because I don't really like Maupin at all. So, I like him for the comedy. He's a very funny person. Because he's just so ridiculous, but now he's...
No, I'm using this to talk about history for the same reason for the same reason that Frederick Engels talked about the peasant wars in Germany. Right?
I'm sorry, but I there would be no point to me denying this. It doesn't even make any sense in that context.
Then why did you use the term historical revisionism?
Because I was specifically referring to...
I mean, you didn't think to, like, Google this before you accused me of making up and lying about history?
I didn't claim that you lied about what happened.
Apparently, here's some historical revisionism. Apparently, Christianity was communist.
Not in the context that you were trying to frame
by murdering and raping missionaries, which I didn't say. I said it was hijacked and utilized. And also, South Korea was the only predominantly Christian country, not others, the magic of Maupin thought. So it sounds like you're saying that the only place this could have possibly happened is South Korea.
And it's highlighted because he wanted to, he went through and name searched his shit, so.
Yeah, which is not what I said. I just recited to you the Shimabara Rebellion. I just recited to you the Taiping Uprising. You didn't think to, like, Google this, do a little research?
And again, he's wrong. He's saying that it's, you know, it's not true. I just cited you the Shimabara Rebellion. Now, okay, so the Taiping Rebellion might have been, I wouldn't say predominantly, but it was there was a large Christian population, or, you know, Taiping Christianity population in that area. However, in the Shimabara Rebellion, it was very much not a predominantly Christian country, as it was violently suppressed. So it wasn't predominantly Christian. It was, I believe at the time, Shinto.
Before attacking me,
because they weren't relevant to the point I was making.
It really looks in this tweet. It really looks like you're trying to say that I just made this up or I lied. That's what. No,
you're misrepresenting what I'm saying.
Well, I think people can look at it. It's right here on the screen, and they can decide for themselves.
No, you're trying to weasel your way out of it.
No, I'm
trying to weasel your way out of it by misrepresenting what I'm saying. You know specifically that I am talking about Marxism because I have told you multiple times.
Is this a fake screenshot?
No.
Okay,
I didn't claim it was.
So I'm not lying about anything you said.
Yeah, you are lying.
Right there. No, I'm not. You are
lying. You're lying about the context.
Oh, boy. Okay. But speaking of that, since we are talking about Christianity, now I'm going to take it off the screen here, but I think everyone's had a chance to see it. So, you know, I'm not trying to falsify.
No, the tweet's still there.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Now, you made a video. Oh, let me adjust this. You made a video. I like it's better when we're in the full thing here.
Oh, God.
You made a video on March 26th, 2022, called Caleb Maupin's Racist Pandering.
I would love to see
and
that.
Yes.
At 5 minutes and 3 seconds into the video, you referred to this book, Jesus is a Socialist, that I published. And you claimed that in this book, I advocate a theocracy, and that I say that, you know, people that that people are commanded by God to follow me. Can you tell me what page that's on? I've got the book right here. So
no, it's not specific wording. It's in the substance of what's being said.
So is it all the quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Is that where you got that from?
Now, can I answer that, or do I have to?
No, go ahead, please. I'm curious. Where in this book I ever?
Okay, cool. Now I'm going to answer. The substance in what you were trying.
He says this so very poorly, in my opinion. So I'm going to sum it up after he's done. But I just want to let you know the wording here is pretty poor. Like, I think it could have been said smoother.
Trying to do, because what it is that you're trying to do is that Jesus would want you to be a socialist, which I find problematic considering that you would first have to show any evidence that he actually existed, but that's besides the point. And because
there are quotes in the Bible you could use to justify it, such as, you know, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven, or like the entire thing of like Act 435, where it talks about how the disciples sold all their everything they owned and brought the proceeds to the people and distributed them to the people as they needed, and all property was held in possession, and no man had any need. No man went went without any like food and stuff like that. So yeah, it was there's quotes and stuff you could pull from the Bible to be able to try and say that Jesus was a socialist. You couldn't say God is a socialist, but there's things there that you could try and hint to, but that's only if you believe in the Bible, and I fucking don't. So
you have crowned yourself the savior by, say, the CPI.
How did I do that?
I will explain exactly how you did that. Only the
crowned myself
CPI
the
can
savior.
save us. I'm trying to answer. Could you please mute yourself? Seriously, mute yourself. To answer your question before you interrupted me again, like the hypocrite that you are, because you have posed yourself as only the CPI can save us, and only the CPI's line is correct. Yes, that's why you started the party, and that's why you attack literally everybody else.
Nope.
Okay, Center for Political Innovation and Organization, whatever it is that you want to call it.
We have members of the Communist Party.
Are a lot of things about not charging interest on loans, and not accumulating vast sums of wealth, and how people need to live equally, and blah blah blah. So like nobody goes without. There's a lot in there that you couldn't call it capitalism, but you also couldn't really call it. Well, you might be able to call it socialism, but you couldn't call it communism for sure. Socialism, fine distinction. Socialism still has currency. It doesn't have capital, so you wouldn't have the ability to accumulate wealth and use it to wield power over people, but it would have something along the lines of labor vouchers, to where you do something, you just hand them off, you get luxury goods because you get food and water and housing and electricity and cable, and that stuff's free.
Party in our group. We have people from the
I gotta tell you something.
We have people
the Communist Party doesn't want anything to do with you, and frankly neither does anybody else.
All right, okay, we're gonna this isn't gonna work.
Okay, so now you're refusing to let me answer.
Okay,
so you're refusing
because he interrupted Unruhe during his answer and was just blah blah blah, and then was gonna mute him, and it's like, you're just okay, so you're gonna fucking mute me when you interrupted me, you fuck. Because that's, look at that. You can see the fucking slime that he is made of.
Let me answer. Let me answer.
Go ahead and talk.
Because you have positioned yourself as the savior by using this, and then saying, I'm Christian, and Jesus would want you to be a socialist, therefore, you got to follow me. Because other people really aren't pushing the Christian Marxism. That's what you're doing. You're appealing to people, telling them that, oh, I want God, or pardon me, God would want you to do what I'm doing, and I'm telling you it, so therefore you follow me. This is very similar to how a reverend or a priest acts. That's what I mean.
Which, yeah, I don't trust Maupin. I don't like Unruhe, but he's more trustworthy, so. Socialism is an economic and philosophical way of life, as I've already said.
I love the obnoxious faces. That was exactly like Bosch did.
Are you done?
It's strange that you're just acting like him. Yeah.
Anarchism is not an economic system by itself. It is a philosophy on life and how people should live. Socialism's main thing is economics. That's its main focus. It is a theory of economics. Marx spent most of his time criticizing capitalism, so he didn't really focus in on the super specifics of socialism. Other people came in and kind of did. Mainly anarchists, like Malatesta. Because anarchists are not only focused on, philosophy of the way of life, which is why, you have anarchism, which is the philosophy, and then you have the economic system you tie to it, anarcho-syndicalism, primitivism, which, yes, primitivism is an economic system and a way of life, anarcho-communism, Anarcho-capitalism is not a real anarchist philosophy. They merely oppose the state, and that's the only thing that they try and use to say that they're anarchist. It's a fake thing that is just fascist. So, because they just want to give corporations all the power of the state and abolish the state. And fascism, one of its presuppositions is rolling corporate and state power together. That's its like main economic prescription. Either you make corporations subservient to the state to work in tandem for the same goal, i.e., look at China in that regard. I.e., look at the Soviet Union when it stood. That's like the main economic prescription of fascism. Now, you don't have to achieve that to be a fascist. Being a hyper-capitalist does also work for that goal. Especially if, as the state leader, you're a hyper-capitalist. There's a lot of fascistic elements of America that I criticize. I do. Because, well, all of that shit. There are certain things about holding on to tradition instead of moving forward and moving into modernity, you know, like the Enlightenment and the Age of Reason. That there's like a rejection of that in certain areas of the country. They don't like it. They don't like logic. They don't like education. Like, just the very concept of it. There's hyper-capitalists that have been president and are president. Like, Biden is no socialist. He just has to govern more left-leaning than he wants to personally, because that's where his party is at. And it's not far enough. So, I mean, you know, America's not clean here. Obviously. But socialism is pretty much an economic system, yeah.
Okay. Well, you're using a very common logical fallacy called telescoping, where you're saying, well, you said this, and this means this, and this means this, and this means this, and this means this, so therefore, and that's not the case. First things first, CPI is not a party. There are people in many different political organizations that are members of the CPI. We are very friendly with Jackson Hinkle. We are very friendly with Haas. We're very friendly with Peter Coffin. We're very friendly
I wouldn't brag about that. Yeah, no. The worst kinds of people. We're very friendly with Jackson Hinkle and Haas. Oh, really? Really? Yeah. Go figure. Fucking garbage people. Literal clowns. Not socialists.
all kinds of different political forces. I've never claimed that CPI, that I'm the savior, that CPI is the one true way. And in fact, the whole reason we started it as a think tank rather than a party is to get out of that kind of childish LARPing and actually try and have an institution that can push Marxist politics in a way people can understand it. CPI is not a Christian organization. I would say the majority of the group are atheists. We have some Muslim members. We have some Jewish members. And I'm in the minority as someone in the group who's a Christian. And in fact, the very first book we published was a Muslim socialist book by Gaddafi.
Gaddafi was not a socialist.
This pushes Islamic socialism. So the very first book we published was not a Christian book, it was explicitly a Muslim book. So the notion that we put a book of quotations from the Bible and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Eugene Debs and Daniel DeLeon and others out there in order to make the case that we're trying to establish some kind of Christian theocracy is simply poppycock. I mean, it just doesn't add up. I mean, do you disagree with that?
To answer your question, it's not telescoping because I'm not making a series of things. I'm taking the collective whole of what's being said.
Well, the collective whole of what's being said is we put out an Islamic socialist book.
Yeah. By the way, publishing somebody else's work doesn't really count as publishing a book.
And I mean, we published Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in here.
Also somebody else's work.
Majority of our organization are not Christian, so I'm lost.
But again, yes. when I made the criticism, you were at the time pushing the whole Christian socialist thing.
So what? And there are Muslims in our group who push
that's how it's relevant.
And there are atheists in our group who push the.
No, and you're not letting me answer.
And how do you get from that I think I'm the savior? Because I quote the Bible and make the case that if you're a Christian,
can I answer that?
You shouldn't support capitalism.
Okay,
how
so
in the world
you're not going to let me answer that?
How in the world do you get from that I think I'm the savior?
Because the way you've positioned yourself within the organization, not to mention as well as the fact, as was adequately demonstrated by Yankee Tanky.
So, yeah, no, he essentially, Maupin makes a whole lot of claims about essentially Jesus would want you to do these things, and I'm doing these things so I can show you how to do these things. That's why you should join my organization as a Christian. he does want to make it a largely Christian organization. That's kind of an unstated goal by pushing so hard on the Christian socialism thing and trying to get Christians to join. It's kind of obvious in that regard, and then by that way, yeah, he's the Christian who started the Center for Political
the amount of whatever Maupin says is true, whatever Maupin does is right, and there's no room for anyone to disagree with you.
There's plenty.
So
of room
you
for
have
people
set
to disagree
yourself
with me.
up in that way.
Yeah, well, that's just utterly false. And
No,
you know, I
that's
don't
not
think,
false.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry. Does he
Yeah.
have a grudge to pick about something else? Is he lying?
Who?
Another thing you'll notice Maupin do is anytime he's called out on something, he'll, who, what? What is that? What? Who? No, what? What do you mean?
Yankee Tanky. You remember he was the person who left your organization and came out against you?
First of all, most of what was put out there was personal grievances he had with another member, which I'm not even going to address in this venue, which aren't really relevant. And second of all, a number of his videos have been removed, which is probably an indicator that he no longer wants that out in the public sphere and no longer stands by such comments. So I'm not going to indulge Yankee Tanky.
Or you threatened him.
No, I didn't.
I don't know that you did, but I wouldn't put past you.
You just said I threatened somebody, and now
I said, or you threatened him.
Okay, all right, wow, this is really, really great. So based on the fact that I talk as a Christian socialist, and I put out this book after publishing a Muslim book, after publishing a number of other writings in a majority non-Christian organization, you, based on that, claim that I believe to myself to be the savior. Right?
No,
you're
you don't believe yourself.
You're accusing me of being David Koresh. You're accusing me of being Reverend Sun Young Moon and some kind of like insane, I believe you used the term cult, all based on the fact that I put together a book of the writings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Do you think that other people watching might think that's a little nuts?
No, I think he actually adequately, albeit long-windedly, explained why he said what he said, and Maupin's just trying to obfuscate. Look at that. Just dead eyes. They're dead.
No, because the way you've positioned it is that if you disagree with you, you disagree with Jesus.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
That's literally the whole point of it.
Jesus existed in thousands of years ago. I'm using this book to make a point that the idea, which is widely believed among normal people in the United States, that Christianity and Marxism are complete opposites. This is wrong. And that if you're a Christian, you can be a socialist. And in fact, there's many things in the Christian teaching that overlap with socialism. I think it's important that we put books out this. When we published this, there was a member of our organization who's from a Southern family. He bought 25 copies and gave one to every single member of his family. He said, I've been waiting for socialists to publish this kind of material. There are people who got this book and they said, I have been waiting for this for years. For years, I have felt like I can't talk to members of my family about socialism because they have this religious block. They say, oh, socialism's anti-God. Thank you for publishing this. I have gotten so much positive feedback for pointing out that the Christian religion and Marxism are compatible, and I don't see this as trying.
Yes, because he's the only one. I came to that conclusion 3 fucking years ago. Just reading fucking quotes from the Bible, going, "Yeah, this is bullshit. This entire thing is bullshit. Oh, look at this! Look at this! Look at this guy here." Like, yeah, there's a pretty big overlap. You don't really have to be that intelligent to see it. All you have to do is know what socialism is and read the book. This overlaps, this overlaps, this overlaps, this overlaps within the New Testament. The Old Testament has some things, but I mean, come on.
To frame myself as the savior of humanity. I maybe you like got this book confused with another book or something. I mean, did you read this book?
Yeah, I also liked the original version by Charlotte Schnook better.
Who?
Charlotte Schnook, the one who actually collected all the quotes that you used in the 90s.
Who?
The one that you plagiarized your book from.
Who did I plagiarize from?
I've said the name Charlotte Schnook twice.
Okay, and how did I plagiarize from her?
Well, literally, the basis of what you're saying, how it's Christianity is compatible with her, it was from her atheist writings in the 90s.
I believe it's from a lot of other people said it before she did. That's a very widely common thing to say, right? If you go back, there's a long history of Christian socialist movements. In fact,
the organization is so very, very close. Regardless.
I think,
Yeah, it's not just about what they're saying, it's about how it's organized as well. And if you can find the other book, yeah.
We quoted from the same Bible, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I did compile these quotes from the Christian Bible. So, I mean, she probably used the same quotes as I did. But, Keaton's in the chat. He compiled the quotes. He helped me compile them. I had other people go through them. I'd be curious to look at Charlotte. This was a socialist.
I know, because I know her personally.
Okay, so she had the same title? I see an angel
No, I
fire
didn't.
came up. Jesus on economics, Luke 12. Do we have Luke 12 in here? No, I'm just looking. You're saying that basically because I used the same quotes from the Bible that she did, that somehow this is plagiarism.
Seems very much like it to me.
Okay, well, I
keep claiming it's your work, but there's nothing original in there.
seeing Jesus on war, we didn't use that quote. I'm seeing Jesus on public prayer. We made a decision not to go there. I see Jesus on punishment. We didn't go there. And I'm also not seeing a book. I'm seeing angelfire.com, Cello, Fantails, Jesus, the Socialist HTML. I'm not seeing a book.
Yeah, it's from the 90s. It was a very small. It was a very.
Yeah,
small
but it would be used. I don't see it on Amazon. I see
because it was published in the 90s in a very small atheist book.
Was Jesus a socialist?
So you can't find my books on Amazon either. Doesn't mean they don't exist.
Well, yeah, but I'm not understanding. So you're alleging that because we use the same verses from the same Bible, that somehow we did that. And I just read you that at least on the angel fire, she's using completely different verses and making completely different points.
She's making most
I'll
of the
drop
same
the link
points.
in the
She
chat.
says
You can
points
look
that you're not
at Schnook's work here, and you'll see that she talks about punishment. We didn't decide to go there. She talks about public prayer. We didn't go there.
You do talk about the same ones. She talks about ones that you
did. This is what you're alleging that I'm plagiaring from. I'm posting the link. This is all page of Charlotte Schnook. You're claiming there's a book that was published that also contains quotes from MLK?
Is my understanding, yes.
Okay, so
I haven't read the book. The book can't really be found.
But you haven't read the book?
Well, no, because it was a very small.
So how do you know I plagiarized from it?
Because it's basically ripped from the website too.
No. There's many places. If you type Christianity and socialism, you can find these quotes in many, many different places. The Bible's been around for a long time.
And many of those are directly plagiarized from her work as well.
What, the Bible is plagiarizing her work?
No, dum-dum. You know that's not what I said.
I know. I
said those other people that have used them.
I think anybody who would look through the Bible and try to make a case that there can be overlap between Christianity and socialism is probably
of course there is
the same quotes. And I'd be curious. Now, she quoted Martin Luther King Jr. You might have a case to make, but you said you haven't even seen this book.
Because the book is out of print.
Yeah, but you haven't even seen it. So you're claiming I plagiarized from a book that you haven't even seen.
No, I said from the website. I specifically just said that.
So you're claiming I plagiarized from this website, which I will post in the chat again, which makes points that we don't make. Which
of course not, because you didn't cover everything that she did.
Yeah, and we're making different points than she's making, and we're quoting the same.
No, you're making many of the same points. She's just made some that you didn't.
Yes, because we're quoting the same Bible, Jason, and we're trying to make the same.
I know. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. A few minutes
ago, you said there were quotes from Martin Luther King in it, and now you've admitted you don't even know about that. So you just lied on.
I know because I talked to her. She said she put in the book.
Okay.
I know.
I'd like to see this book. I'd like to see this book. I mean, did she have an essay by Keaton Mansfield in there? Did she have the Eugene Debs essay that we included?
No.
Okay, because I'm not.
Okay, I don't see why his essay has anything to do with it.
At the first draft of the book, we included the full Beyond Vietnam speech by Dr. Martin Luther King, but we discovered that we couldn't republish that because it's copyrighted. So we had to chop it up into quotations. So we did that. We used some different quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but I really we've gone from I think I'm the savior because I published this book to I
you're oversimplifying
this
it.
book. I call it.
There was no moving there. He just also included this. There's no moving the claims here. It's two separate but parallel claims.
Have I been called so far in this debate? Piece of shit, dumb. Where's the anger coming from, Jason? Can you tell that?
As I have already answered that question, you know that I wasn't referring specifically. Like when I said people, when I said other people, because you're a liar.
How am I a liar?
Because you're a narcissist and a goddamn fascist.
How am I a fascist?
Oh, you mean aside from being the ally of Alexander Dugin, aside from
I'm not fascist and I'm not his ally. So I'm neither.
Yeah, Alexander Dugin is a fascist.
No, he's not.
The guy who really, the guy who, yeah, I did read it, by the way. Okay, so I can't answer once again.
This is an important point. The fourth political theory that Dugin invented is inherently anti-fascist. It is contrary to both fascism and communism.
I would just take off my headset at this point. If you're going to mute me when I'm literally answering you and you're going to interrupt me, mute me, and then go on a fucking spiel, I wouldn't. No. It's an important point. Guess what? I was fucking answering. You can make it after I'm fucking done.
Dugin was a founding member of the Russian Communist Party. He left with a split, and there was the National Bolshevik Party, which was led by Edward Limonov, who was openly gay and wrote novels, was a punk rock novelist, was considered very
completely irrelevant.
Liberal in Russia.
Lenin was the, big leader of the Red Army, which was supposed to be a communist revolution, and then he fucking betrayed the entire goddamn thing, so... Doesn't matter what you call yourself, really. It matters what you do.
And then Dugin left and he has something called the Eurasian movement. Now, Dugin opposes both fascism and communism. He considers them to be Western ideas. And I don't agree with Dugin. He rejects...
Okay, so Dugin is essentially a fascist. The only thing he doesn't do is advocate for racism. He thinks racism is counterproductive, which you can't trust anybody when they say that they wouldn't be racist because it's counterproductive. Not that it's just immoral inherently, because bigotry against inherent characteristics is really fucked. No. It's counterproductive. So what happens when it isn't counterproductive and becomes productive in your eyes? Well, then it becomes morally permissible. So his only thing keeping him from being what everyone else would call a fascist, actually a lot of lefties still call him a fascist because he pretty much is the explicit racism that pretty much all fascist groups exhibit. So, because he just says that it's counterproductive instead of just inherently immoral, we're going to go ahead and say he's a fascist because there might be a point where he thinks it's not counterproductive. So,
historical progress. I don't. He rejects communism. I'm in favor of communism. He is against gay marriage. I'm for gay marriage. He's against abortion. I'm for abortion being legal. Dugan and I agree on Western capitalism and imperialism being a danger, and that's why I was happy to sit down with him, and I'd be happy to sit down with any.
As all fascists do. Yeah, I have an ethical system and morals. What do you think a materialist means? I don't value materials. I look at the material conditions of the world and of people. That doesn't mean my possessions necessarily. It means my standard of living. Where I'm at, how I'm treated by society. That's more than just physical things that you own, Camel. What the fuck?
Anti-imperialist, because that is my job. As we talked at the beginning of the debate, my job as a person living in Western imperialist countries is to build an alliance against imperialism. And so I sat down with him, but I don't agree with him. And he's a postmodernist. I believe that there is objective reality and one truth. He says that in Russia there is a different truth for Russia and a different. He has views that are very, very contrary to mine. So I'm not Dugan, and Dugan isn't a fascist. So both of those points are way off. But go ahead.
Dugan is a fascist, and you are an ally with Dugan, and also okay, so Maupin is definitely a fascist. He might actually be a Nazi, because he really seems to bring up Jews a whole fucking lot when it's irrelevant to any point.
Okay, well, you muted me while I was explaining how he is a fascist. You've completely misrepresented his book. Actually, just right out in the book.
I'll go get his book.
Right in it, he literally calls for pushing fascism using using fascist and socialist symbols. Dugan was also part of an anti-Semitic nationalist group, the Pamyat, in the Soviet Union. Pamyat used the same version of the Russian flag that you do in support of Russia in your meetings. Oh, I see that when I get the answer, you walk away so you don't hear it.
I'm trying to get my copy of Dugan's book. I was going to read to you from
Okay.
it. I don't know where it is. But first of all, what version of the Russian flag are you referring to?
Well, I have a picture of it here. It's the one that's the black, blue, red, of the eagle in the middle and the writing.
That's the flag of the Donetsk People's Republic.
Really, because here is a picture of a guy. They were waving the exact same one way back.
Yes, that's the flag of the Donetsk People's Republic. That's the flag that they chose.
Yeah. So we're just waving a flag used by a fascist party.
No, used by the communists and progressive Russian-speaking people of the eastern regions who declared independence. That's actually what their flag looks like.
You do realize that he's literally saying in the fourth political theory, he's pushing for fascism, saying to use fascist and socialist symbols.
He spends pages denouncing fascism. He talks about how fascism, because it's inherently racist and because it's tied in with the Holocaust, etc., has been discredited. That's basically what he says. I mean, I've read the passages on this.
And yet the substance of what he's saying is
I'm not him. So it's like, again, you're doing this.
No, I didn't say you were him.
Talk to Dugan. Dugan said this. So therefore, and it's like,
no,
it's like,
can I answer
not
that?
what you say he is.
Can I answer
talked
that?
to him one time. I don't agree with him. So your logic doesn't add up.
No, can I answer that? It's not because you talked to him one time. It's because you were palling around with him. It's because you want, and let me answer. And because he was so nodding along with you when you were talking about the bankers who were influencing things. As a Marxist, you would know that it's not a conspiracy by the bankers to ruin America. It's just capitalism. It's doing what is profitable. It's not something that's specifically targeted as trying to destroy America, which, by the way, you did specifically say in that thing. And that he was nodding along with you.
Okay, now, if you read Lenin's book, Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism, Lenin makes clear that one of the defining aspects of imperialism is the dominance of finance capital. And Russia, as a country that was devastated after the fall of the Soviet Union and economically plundered, they have rebuilt themselves up, and they are fighting against the same big banks and corporations that are destroying the lives of American.
All right. This point has to be made, because Maupin does this a whole lot. He says they're an enemy of Western capitalism, Western imperialism, Western this, Western that. Buddy, being in opposition to Western capitalism and Western imperialism exclusively kind of precludes you to not being against any other forms of capitalism or imperialism. The issues aren't Western capitalism and Western imperialism. They are capitalism and imperialism. It's not Western. It's remove that from the two different things. capitalism, imperialism. Those are your problems. But no, he's always, either JQ whispering or pointing to just the West and blaming them for literally everything, despite that there are problems that are caused by, Russia or China or Afghanistan or Syria or Iraq or pretty much anywhere. There are global issues that affect the globe, and America just happens to cause a disproportionate amount of them because, well, we feel like we can do that.
Workers, and that we have a common destiny, and that yes, there are big banks and big corporations tied in with big oil companies that have a financial interest in trying to crush Russia. That is basic Marxism. That is what Lenin wrote about in Imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism. This is a pretty honest understanding of things. So the fact that I talked about how imperialism, which is defined by Lenin as the rule of the world by trusts, cartels, and syndicates, the dominance of finance capital, and I talked about struggling against it and made a speech critical of the Western left for failing to do so, and you interpret that as somehow me wanting to kill all Jews or something, that's ridiculous.
No, the way he phrased all of this was essentially, like, he does the whole Large conspiracy, London is the capital of the bankers, and Jews control banks kind of shit. Like, he dog whistles it all the fucking time.
Well, you muted me right in the middle of it. I was trying to explain it, and I had already explained the difference between the two. I never said bankers weren't ruining the country. You keep going back to that, which is something I haven't denied.
No, you just attacked me for saying that.
No, I attacked you for the way that you phrased it. You dog whistled anti-Semitism by saying it that way. You knowingly, it's hard to claim that you're not being a fascist when you keep allying yourself with right-wing movements and ideas like the Freedom Convoy. And can I answer, or can I mute you?
Okay. You're saying things that are untrue, but continue.
No, you did. You openly supported the Freedom Convoy in Canada, which was a fascist movement. I literally played the video of the guy who leads the thing talking about great replacement, talking about how there was a conspiracy by people and to get rid of
Wall Street Maoist movement.
No.
Well, the RCP went there, so it must be.
The RCP didn't lead it.
One guy showed up with Nazi flags.
Yeah. What do you mean? Oh, well, the RCP showed up to this decentralized movement, so obviously it was a fucking Maoist movement, right? No, because they didn't fucking lead it, they just went there to show support. The thing you claim that people need to do later in the thing. That you need to support every revolutionary thing against the state, blah, 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 blah. No, you don't have to support all of them, but ones that are good. You support the good ones. You don't support the fucking bad ones. You fucking lunatic.
No, not one guy. The leader of it. The leader of it was an anti-Semite.
What was the issue at hand in the Freedom Convoy? Fascism? Were they marching for fascism in Canada?
Essentially, yes. They were calling for intrusion. Okay, I'm going to answer. Because you exactly weren't actually there for it, and that's why the majority of Canadians didn't support it.
Sikhs
it's because I know they had a few Sikhs in there too. That wasn't the point.
Okay, they don't count, right?
That wasn't the point. That wasn't the point. The guy who ran it, the guy who led it, the guy who was the chief financial operative for it, he was the guy that you sent the donations to, was saying, yes, this is about great replacement, using the term Anglo-Saxon race. This is a way of getting around the censors. If you say white, then you get censored. Again, I am trying to answer, and you're interrupting me. Supporting that, full well knowing that they were asking for the Liberal Prime Minister to step down, holding the country hostage in order to do so, in order to take their hand-picked person from their far-right group to take up the position of Prime Minister. That's not even just a process. It's almost an attempted coup. And it was entirely right-wing. Their arguments were entirely right-wing. Most of the companies, the truckers that were involved in doing...
Now, I would like to point out, yes, the thing here is Unruhe is able to identify the underlying arguments that they're making and which side they're on, and Maupin goes, oh, that sounds vaguely anti-capitalist, let's support it. And it's like, no!
The whole thing were actually business owners. They weren't, the vast majority of them weren't even regular working people, because one got to wonder how they were able to do that instead of working. So no, you literally misrepresented the entire thing by your statement just there, and you openly supported a guy who was supporting fascism and calling for great replacement theory.
Yes. This guy.
You supported his movement?
Oh, telescoping again.
That's not telescoping. You literally supported his movement.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Are you
done? May I respond? All right. So you're claiming that because I supported a movement of truckers, of which one leader you claim, I haven't seen the evidence, you claim that he's saying all these things about the Anglo-Saxon.
The chief financial officer, not just one of the leaders. He's the main guy who organized it. He's the guy who you sent donations to. He's the guy who funded this shit. He's the one who funneled the money around and shit. The head guy of the thing. Not just a leader, like the actual head of the movement.
Race, because I supported a movement that had a guy in it.
Like,
therefore, I'm a fascist. So we've gotten from I sat next to a guy who's clearly not a fascist, and I must be a fascist, even though I disagree with that guy.
He actually seemed to heavily agree with Dugan when they were talking. There was very minor things that they disagreed on, for the most part. And then some of the things he mentioned earlier, you know, Maupin isn't anti-gay. He also, he might be anti-trans, but no, there's... Maupin's an idiot. He's like, I'm not a postmodernist. I believe that there is one objective truth, and it's like, why? I mean, I know Marx believed that, but it's obviously not true.
Who is himself not even a fascist, to I support a movement of people around vaccine mandates and other issues, that there was somebody in it that...
And other issues, the main one being Great Replacement and trying to oust Justin Trudeau for a handpicked far-right person in a coup. Yeah. And other issues. Brush that off to the side.
You claim he said something, which people play this game where everything's a dog whistle and all that. I really doubt...
Well, it really wasn't a dog whistle. He very explicitly explained what it was. Very, very explicitly.
Those Sikh truckers there were marching for the Anglo-Saxon race, Jason. And you can disagree with me about the trucker convoy. But to claim that I am somehow a fascist because I see a group of people in motion protesting against the state, against Justin Trudeau, and I sympathize with them, even though I'm in another country, that somehow makes me a fascist, that is...
You really do seem to support only right-wing movements. That's it. You support Russia invading Ukraine. You claim that war is bad, but you think that they're justified. You've never denounced it. You supported the January 6th Capitol riot, led by far-right people. You supported the Freedom Convoy, led by neo-Nazis. You support every far-right movement that there is, and the only left-wing movement out there, really, in the world that's actively doing stuff right now, you know, over near Russia at least, is it's Rojava. And you hate them. So what?
Is completely dishonest. Go ahead.
It's not just the Freedom Convoy. It's literally you support Syria against Rojava. Rojava's an anarcho-syndicalist startup society. Like, but you hate them. The most left-wing movement right now actively trying to gain a foothold. You hate Catalan. You don't like any of the left-wing movements, really. But so why do you... I know why he does it. It's because he's a psyop. He's literally paid by Russia to pretend to be a leftist and push right-wing ideas there.
A review of what I just said completely misrepresented what I said. It's just one guy. No, it's the leader of the entire thing. He did say those things. The videos of him talking are not only available there, they're available on my channel as well. I uploaded them as an example of that. That was a fascist movement. It also was pushing, and it was also Patrick King, that's his name.
Okay, I've never heard of him before.
You've never heard of the guy who ran the protest?
Because I saw a group of people.
Well, then you clearly don't know what you're talking about.
I saw a group of people in motion around this issue of vaccines, and I felt that as a communist, it is our duty when we see people in motion. Have you ever read the Communist Manifesto?
No, it wasn't the people in motion. It was a nonsense claim that vaccines were some kind of conspiracy and that people were trying to...
saying that vaccines are a conspiracy? I thought it was about...
No, they were pushing conspiracy.
Anglo-Saxon race.
I am trying to answer you. They were saying...
Oh.
Hey, everybody. A responsibility to go to them and get them to change how... I never went to a single one of these protests, but I still. This is what it says. In short, communists...
Yeah.
So it was pushing, and it was also Patrick King, that's his name.
Okay, I've never heard of him before.
You've never heard of the guy who ran the protest?
Because I saw a group of people...
Well, then you clearly don't know what you're talking about.
I saw a group of people in motion around this issue of vaccines, and I felt that as a communist, it is our duty when we see people in motion. Have you ever read the Communist Manifesto?
No, it wasn't the people in motion. It was a nonsense claim that vaccines were some kind of conspiracy and that people were trying to...
saying that vaccines are a conspiracy? I thought it was about...
No, they were pushing conspiracy.
Race,
I am trying to answer you. They were saying more than one thing. He was saying more than one thing. It was about the vaccines, and they go, "Oh, they're trying to kill us with it," and then going on about
everyone there was saying the
replacement
vaccines were
theory.
trying to kill them.
I am trying to answer you. You are misrepresenting what I say. You misrepresent in reviewing what I say, and then say, "Well, what did I do wrong?" You are completely misrepresenting the fact that he is the leader. It wasn't just because you supported it. It's because this guy was in it. He's the leader of it. So his opinion of the movement and his running of the movement is kind of actually really important.
So you're telling me this
the rest of Canada recognized that it was a far right-wing movement. It was getting money from the Conservative Party of Canada.
That was published about it. But the issue at hand.
Why are you supporting a far-right movement just because the masses want to do it? Which it wasn't even the masses.
The issue at hand was the vaccine mandates, was it not?
That was part of it.
Part of it. Oh,
but if it was for the vaccine mandate, and it was solely for the vaccine mandate, then why were they asking for the Prime Minister to step down?
Because Justin Trudeau presided over that and has been presiding over Canada not doing well and working families suffering, and the right wing has hijacked the anger that a lot of working people in Canada feel, just like they're doing here in the United States.
And again, this movement really wasn't regular people. It was largely business owners. It was funded by right-wing extremist groups. By the way, the Globe and Mail, famous Canadian... No, of course you don't know about that. You don't seem to know anything.
All right, well...
Okay, you don't know all the things that were put out in the Canadian media.
I'm going to speak now, and I'm going to mute you. All right. In the Feminist Manifesto, this is what it says. In short, communists everywhere...
Mute to bloviate.
...support every revolutionary movement against the existing social and political order of things. In all of these movements, they bring to the front, as the leading question in each, the property question, no matter what its degree of development at the time. Meaning that when working people are in confrontation with the state, and when they're out there rallying against the ruling class, that you support them. But you bring forward communism. You challenge the backward ideas they may be espousing as they do it, but you support them when they're in a confrontation with the status quo. That is my understanding. And we made the mistake. We should have done this with the Tea Party. And we should have done this with Occupy Wall Street. We should have done this with Black Lives Matter. If our job is to exist in the Western capitalist countries, to get working people to understand they have a duty to align with the people of the colonized world that are fighting for their independence, it should be our job to see working people who are in motion and try to get them to understand that they have a common enemy with the people around the world that are struggling against imperialism. So, not a Canadian, never went to a single one of these protests, but I saw a group of people rallying against Justin Trudeau, who's backed by the big corporations and banks and is the face of Canadian imperialism at this time. And I thought, okay, the issue is the vaccine mandate, something that even though I'm vaccinated, I'm opposed to. I think that supporting their right to a democratic and harsh way, I think that might be the right thing to do. And no, I don't agree with this Patrick, what's his name, who's the leader of it. And I don't agree with the one guy who showed up with the Nazi flag. But when people are in motion, it is our duty to go and support them and bring them away from their backward ideas towards socialism. They should be rallying for socialism against Justin Trudeau, not for this right-wing stuff. Would you agree with that?
That quote isn't the problem. I'm not disputing what is said there. I'm disputing in what the truckers were. They were not a revolutionary.
So we're going to do a couple more after this. But I'm going to take a break after this one to go pee, pretty much.
Movement.
They were a bunch
of conspiracy theory nutbags who were overwhelmingly supportive of QAnon, who already believe that Canada is a socialist country and that Justin Trudeau is a communist because allegedly...
Yeah. Complete fucking obfuscation. Complete what? Well, I saw this over here, so obviously that means... No! One of their fucking demands was this, as a group.
Established dictatorship of the proletariat. You know, it really blows my mind. Fox News has been doing this kind of crap to left-wing movements for years, and suddenly they turn around and do it to right-wing movements, and you're fine with that. One Nazi flag, one guy on social media said something that you say is the great replacement, so therefore all these truckers are Nazis, all of them are fascists. No, it's not about the vaccine.
They literally had these demands, okay, and as a group they agreed on them, and as a group they knew what Patrick King was about, and as a group they supported him.
Mandate. It's actually a fascist plot to seize the government. Oh, now we have to back Justin Trudeau, and if we don't, you're a Nazi. This is how nuts mainstream leftism has become.
Well, you just lied by saying I was trying to defend Justin Trudeau, which is not true.
Yep.
Also, it's not just one guy, as I have said repeatedly, a point that you keep refusing to acknowledge. It was the leader of the movement, and you can't claim the leader of a movement's opinion isn't significant. And second of all, there were a multitude of issues there. They are
the fucking ridiculously smug look on his face. He's like, yeah, I'm owning him right now. And Unruhe is just like beating the shit out of him rhetorically. Like, I don't understand how you can be so unaware.
They did. It was on their website. They were asking Trudeau to step down and be replaced by their own hand-picked person who was a far rightist. You cannot claim that was not a reactionary movement or, it's just one guy. Literally, the demands of the group were to have a far rightist put into power undemocratically.
And it didn't occur to you that you might be able to change that?
And then he just moves off of it entirely to be like, well, I mean, yeah, I supported the fucking reactionary fascist group that wanted to pull off a fascist coup, and I supported him openly, and I have a large enough following on, my social medias, 25,000 here, and I don't know how many he had on Twitter, but I openly supported them, but I mean I didn't even make any attempt to change what they believe, not at all. But don't you think you should have? Completely irrelevant point to what he was saying.
By seeing a bunch of working people in motion have these backward ideas and showing them that you oppose the status quo too, but the answer is actually socialism, not their reactionary bullshit?
To answer your question before you cut me off again, you really like to do that, mute me when I'm trying to answer you.
Yep.
Fucking coward.
Yeah. He's a greasy, slimy little piece of shit. He's such a fucking pussy. Oh my god. He can't address any actual point. He has to fucking whataboutism and try and slip away and just fucking run every time. Obfuscation and misdirection, all of it. All of the shit that Non-Compete said was sophistry is essentially what Maupin does all the goddamn time.
You're the one muting.
Where does rage come from? Seriously, Jason.
You deliberately misrepresenting what I'm saying.
No,
you repeat.
No, Unruhe actually has a good reason to be mad. He's been muted like 5 fucking times here. Most of them, 4 of the 5, have been Maupin muting him because Maupin interrupted Unruhe answering a question to bloviate on some bullshit thing that didn't have any actual relevance to the conversation or to misrepresent what Unruhe had said. Those are the 2 things that he's done. Interrupting Unruhe, muting him to do it. Which is a very frustrating thing, honestly. Even for somebody watching it, seeing him just get muted, Maupin does not look good here doing this. He really doesn't. He looks fucking terrible here. He's like, alright, I'm gonna mute you here. It's bad. Anyone who's not on the fucking Kool-Aid, deep into it, can look at this. If this is like their first or second introduction into anything Maupin's ever done, and they see this, and this is the thing that he's doing, no, it looks fucking terrible. And then he's giggling about making Unruhe angry for doing that over and over, which doesn't make him look good in the first place, and then it makes him look like a intention of taking a conversation seriously. Come on now. Come on now.
Lying. Yes, you are lying.
I don't have the anger that you have.
Yes, you do. I didn't say anything about that. I didn't say anything about you being
now, November 26th, 2021, you claim that...
Yep. Interrupted Unruhe again, muted him, and is going off on some bullshit.
That people who want to kill... Oh, he rage quit. Well, he rage quit, folks. We lost Jason. That was fun. We had him for almost an hour.
Say anything about
that. All right, you go on. Now, November 26th, 2021, you claim that people who want to kill... Oh, he rage quit.
So we're going to skip him.
But I
put it right on my Twitter. I put it right on my Twitter. And
you still want to defend
my internet cut out.
Okay, I thought it was a rage quit.
Okay, by the way,
Jason,
I'm talking about...
And constantly interrupting Jason, and now he's yelling, and he's like, where did your rage come from? And now he's mad, like big mad.
About what's Whoa!
Your tweet talked about me. You accused me of trying to frame you for child pornography when I did no such thing. Yes, you talked about me. We have the date. We have the screenshot. You talked about me. You talked about me. Here, we'll even put it on the screen. You made a crazy allegation against me without any evidence. Yes, you talked about me.
Jesus Christ, you just cut me off every time your back is against the wall. As I said, as I was trying to say, please calm down. Where's all this anger coming from?
Yes.
Can I answer now? Is that okay? I tried to show you the evidence, but you wouldn't let me talk.
Okay, keep talking while I pull up the screenshot.
As I said, with the screenshot that was sent to me by someone from in his Discord, where they were talking about the plan, not child pornography. The plan was to make it look like I was trying to do sexual talking with
Okay, I think that's the rest of this debate, pretty much.
All because it was a fascist movement, and you were supporting a fascist movement.
Say things that are not factually accurate because you have a feeling. Because you don't like Christianity, it makes it okay to deny history. Because you don't like Canadian...
Okay. And see again the name search. Never mind, it gets worse. Hawes / or Maupin are going to try to frame me for CP. So this is... He might be involved, which Maupin is involved in pretty much everything Hawes does, and Hawes definitely was involved in this particular thing. So, yeah.
Truckers movement, me in the United States saying that they're right about vaccine mandates makes me to say things that are not true. These huge leaps that you make. And if journalism and news is what MRN is really about, that really blows your credibility. I mean, are you telling me on here that MRN reports things that are not factual? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, so you just took the time to rehash everything I said and misrepresent it again. I never said these historical things never happened. I claimed it in the context that you were trying to claim that it was somehow related to socialism was wrong. We already went over that. So you're lying about what I said again.
Yep.
I never said, because it was a fascist movement and you were supporting a fascist movement. And I'm saying specifically here, right now, unequivocally, you are a liar. I do not believe you. I have no reason to believe you because you have pathologically lied to me. That's exactly what you do. Right when you muted me, I was about to say, you're about to mute me as I was trying to.
Because I want to be accurate here, unlike some people. That you made a video May 30th, 2022. And you said China never tried a peaceful transition because it wouldn't make sense.
In the socialist terms, no.
Okay. Well, I'm about to pull something up on.
Notice here. I'm gonna replay that a little bit.
May 30th, 2022. And you said China never tried a peaceful transition because it wouldn't make sense.
I'm pretty sure he said he never tried a meaningful never made a meaningful try for peaceful transition. But even if he didn't, it doesn't matter. Because what Maupin's going to do here is bring up absolutely fucking irrelevant things. Like, completely irrelevant. With Mao saying, like, oh, but Mao said that he wanted to avoid civil war with Chiang Kai-shek. Yeah, every fucking aggressor says that they want to avoid the conflict, but they're pushed too fucking far because the government won't work with them. Yeah, the government's not gonna work with you. The fuck do you mean? Either you have to do violence to overthrow that government, or you have to try and work within that system, get elected, and make changes, depending on the system. Granted, wasn't really a democracy before, so you can't get elected to make changes, so revolution's kind of the only thing you can do. So, violence is there, and you're just trying to give yourself some kind of, we kind of have to, because they wouldn't work with us, and I mean, like, come on. Every group does it. Every aggressor does it. The Nazis did it to France and the UK when they tried to aggress on them, and they did definitely aggress on both of them. They offered pre-existing terms of surrender to both of them. Like, it's not uncommon. It's like, we don't want to have to fight you all, but I mean, if you stand against us, then we're gonna have to. So, come on. It's irrelevant bullshit.
In the socialist terms, no.
Okay. Well, I'm about to pull something up on the screen here for you, and I want you to tell me that this didn't happen, basically. Are you ready? Hold on. Gotta love
some small obscure thing that nobody even knows about because history's forgotten it because of how irrelevant it was? Well, I'm guessing it was.
I don't think so, but maybe that's your opinion. Chiang Kai-shek asked Mao Zedong to parley in Chongqing.
So?
After World War II, the Chinese Communist Party asked to form a coalition government, with Chiang Kai-shek. Did this not happen?
So he made an offer that he knows that he wouldn't take.
But that doesn't matter.
It does. He made an offer that was completely out of the realm of being something feasible to have been accepted by Chiang Kai-shek. There's no chance he would have ever accepted it. Making that offer is completely meaningless. Because why would he accept it? He already has all the power, and the only way to solve the issue is either crush the rebellion that he sees, or for the rebellion to win. No, I'm bringing up a parallel. That just because a group says something like that doesn't mean they're not already going to be violent. It's not a comparison to Nazis. It's using them as an example of a group that said that they didn't want to engage in aggression against country X, but if they stand against them, then they have no choice but to do it. So, like Mao said, he didn't want civil war, but the government gives them no choice. Like, there's parallels that groups will say this thing, even if they're the aggressor, especially if they're the aggressor. So it's not really comparing Mao to Nazis. It's more the thing that they say is said by every group. Nazis just happen to be a group that said it to other countries. Pretty much every revolutionary group did it.
No, your point is completely invalid.
No.
It is, because this is something that would never be accepted by a Marxist.
Wait a second.
No, this doesn't make any sense.
How does it not make sense?
Your claim doesn't make any sense.
You said that China never tried.
That wouldn't be changing anything.
Okay,
That wouldn't be.
You said China never tried a peaceful transition to socialism.
It's true, because it wouldn't fucking change anything. Yeah, they're a very easy group to make parallels to, because they did a whole bunch of fucking absolutely insano shit. You know, they did a lot of things that were morally contradictory to themselves as well, because they were moral intuitivists, so whatever felt right at the time, they did. With the only underlying thing is their principles. So they did a lot of shit like that. They're a very easy group. And they're also very well known. You know what's not as well known? The details about the Cultural Revolution in China. To a lot of people in America, not as well known. It's really not. Because we don't teach about it. Outside of telling people that a lot of people fucking died there.
And I have presented you from the Daily Worker, a communist newspaper, reporting that they did. But that's not the only
That's pretty much all the education you get in China in America. On China in America.
piece of evidence I have that they did this. I am going to read you from the works of Mao Zedong, August 16th, 1945. Quote, "The Communist Party of China is firmly opposed to civil war. The Communist Party of China has persistently advocated the formation of a coalition government."
They, at the baseline, revolutionary can be left or right wing. It's just a group that overtook a government. They kind of did coup the government. Hitler took over and just, bam, full militarization. What do you mean? Why is it weird? They took over a government and then did absolutely fucking horrible shit. But they took over a government in an act of revolution, essentially. Because Hitler did things in a democratic process. He tried to, and then he seized the government. He overtook it. He abolished positions, abolished a constitution, installed himself, and brought in strongmen and yes men to his side. Like, it was a revolution. In a way. That doesn't... What the fuck are you talking about? It doesn't mean they're good. I don't support all revolutionary groups. I don't support the SSNP.
The carrying out of this proposal can prevent civil war, but there is one precondition: strength. If the people unite and increase their strength, China can prevent civil war. That is Mao on the eve of civil war with Chiang Kai-shek trying to stop it and trying to form a coalition government. Is that a fabrication? Go ahead.
It's not a fabrication, and again, you cut me off again when I was about to answer you. No, I mean, a coalition government is nonsense because that wouldn't make it socialism. That wouldn't be a peaceful transition to socialism. Why would Chiang Kai-shek agree to a sharing of power to do the opposite of what it is that he's doing? But you're saying that if Mao had accepted, they would have transferred to a socialist society and he would have gone along with it?
No.
Sorry,
I'm
no.
reading
Well, then
you.
the whole
I'll
doesn't make any sense.
I'll explain to you why it's relevant. Remember Long Live Leninism? Remember that document that we talked about? I'm going to read to you from this document in which Mao, an opportunity for peaceful development of the revolution presents itself. Communists must firmly seize it, as Lenin did, so as to realize the aim of the socialist revolution. The question is not whether the proletariat is willing to carry out a peaceful transformation. It is rather whether the bourgeoisie will accept such a peaceful transformation. This is the only way in which the followers of Lenin approach the question. So is Mao a dirty, rotten revisionist because he says if we can have a peaceful transition, that's better? I mean, is that a crime? That's all I've ever said, is that it would be better to have a peaceful transition. I don't advocate violence. I advocate a peaceful transition. And if there is a violent revolution, that's because the capitalists won't allow a peaceful transition. Jason, it really grinds my gears because my whole life people have been telling me that communists are murderers, communists are terrorists, communists advocate violence. But everywhere in the world that there's been a communist revolution, it's only happened. The violent revolution has only happened because we tried to organize peacefully and our democratic rights were suppressed. Ultra-leftism, Punchism, Blanquism, terrorism have always been rejected by revolution.
False. Not true. Absolutely not true. Especially the terrorism being rejected by... No, that's kind of a thing that they do a lot. Revolutionary groups do that a lot.
Why are you trying to help the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI shut down peaceful revolutionary organizations that are trying to organize peacefully? Mao clearly, in that document, is saying...
No. See, that's another conflation there. He's not trying to shut down peaceful peaceful groups that want to organize. He's saying revolutionary groups often know when violence is about to be imminent. And they will try and say things to make it seem like it's not their fault. Oftentimes, it's not. They were suppressed. They have been aggressed on. See Rojava. And they just want to be able to make changes. Rojava literally just wants to coalition with the Syrian government and have their autonomous region. That's not the case with all of them, though. No, Camel. I don't think you have to support every revolutionary group. You support the ones that are good. You don't support the ones that are bad. I don't support Nazi groups, which technically are revolutionary at the most baseline. You're fucking stupid, Camel. I've said it before. You don't have to support every revolutionary act or group. You support the ones that are good, that align ideologically with what you believe. You don't support the ones that are not what you align with. I support good revolutionary groups. I don't support bad revolutionary groups. Says you, buddy. You know who's got their back? Good old America. They help us fight ISIS. We help them get autonomous region. They don't even necessarily want the region they're currently in. They just want an autonomous governing body for them. So, yeah. Camel is very dumb. Just keep that in mind. He's very dumb. I give him a lot of leeway because English is not his first language. It has improved. I'll give him that. But he's still very dumb.
And if a peaceful revolution is possible, that's what we want to do. There's nothing revisionist about saying that. That's called scientific Marxism, Jason. And when it's not possible, the people have a right to defend themselves. And the revolutions of history have been acts of self-defense when people had no other choice. We are not bomb throwers. We're not punchists. I think you said revolution is when you take a gun and start shooting. No, revolution is when people start organizing in their communities for their rights to make a better country, and the grinding gears of imperialism and capitalism get in their way when they have no other choice. Violent revolutions only happen because the capitalists block a peaceful transition. And this is a historical fact that is obscured by the propaganda against communism.
Okay. Violent revolution only happens because capitalists block a peaceful transition. No, you didn't. You did fight ISIS. I will give you that. Most people did. Like, literally most people that ISIS was trying to, any region that they were trying to operate in, any country, yeah, they kind of got fought there. Rojava was, instrumental with the U.S. in fighting ISIS. The SSNP didn't even have a fucking fraction of the conflicts that Rojava and the U.S. did. Because we kind of put ourselves there to fight terrorism, which any group we deemed a terrorist group gave us justification to be there in the government's eyes, not in mine. This is the U.S. government's perspective, so that may be fine by you, but it is apparently not fine by most people in your country, Camel. It's also not going to abide them because, they tried to assimilate and they were still abused. That's the only reason that they want their autonomous region. They were still getting fucked over. Legitimately, they were getting fucked over. So, no. They tried your assimilation. They tried all that shit. No. You see, you can say things, but I've already looked into them previously. I've looked up the numbers. No. ISIS was mostly fought by the USA with help from Rojava in that region. Rojava was kind of really big in us fighting. Kind of a big deal.
I don't know why that makes you so angry. Go ahead.
Okay, you cut me off literally when I was in the middle of answering you. That quote by Mao was a statement. It was a politically pushed statement. It wasn't sincere. It's like when the U.S. says, oh, wait, I know, please shut the fuck up and let me answer.
You will say that to literally any statistic or anything that is said. You have said it. You've either said that it's Western propaganda or that it's fucking Jewish. So, no. You buy in entirely into Bashar al-Assad's propaganda. You entirely. He controls the fucking country. Everything he says. Yeah, cool. The SSNP can have fought ISIS on their own. They still didn't fight as much as Rojava and the US did. That's just factual. You're fucking dumb. It's not Western propaganda. You say it to literally everything. Literally everything. I can pull up fucking sources that aren't from the West that confirm what I say, and you still say it. I literally never said that. Maupin here does. Because I say that a different group fought more than the SSNP, you're going to say that I say that they didn't exist at all? Yeah. Camel, you are literally going to... You know what? Here. Time out.
You just called Mao a liar? You just said that Mao was lying. He wanted there to be bloodshed in the streets. He wanted there
Mao is a liar. I can't believe you said Mao is a liar. Let me go suck his dick. I got a mold of Mao's penis for whenever somebody calls him a liar, I can go and suck on it. Because he glorifies Mao a lot. So much that he would suck the shaft of, a recreation of his shaft.
killing. He didn't want a peaceful transition. He was just... Answer you. Go ahead and answer. Tell me about how Mao wanted violence and killing.
No, Mao didn't want it, but he knew that's what it was going to come down to.
That's
what
I said.
I'm trying to answer you. Shut up. You're not letting me answer. It's a political statement. They're trying to make it look like he was trying to avoid war when he knew very well that it was going to be war. Everybody knew it was going to be war. There wasn't going to be any peaceful thing. But
advocating a peaceful transition is revisionist. Goes against everything I just read you from along with Leninism and from Mao.
You fucking cut me off and I'm answering you again.
Yep, and he's going to leave, and then the last bit of this is Maupin fucking going on and on and on. Yeah, so Camel, you've been put in timeout because you literally always misrepresent what the fuck I say. You can shut the fuck up for now. You know what? I think we're done with Maupin and Unruhe for now. Let's see. 2 hours. I don't know how bad the bitrate's gotten over the times that I've been here, so let's open up here. Oh, it's been fine. Okay. What's going on with the camera, though? Did it get frozen? Shit, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it did get frozen. Fuck me. Okay, well. I'll have to figure that out at some point. But I think that's actually going to wrap it up. Yeah, see, it says 19 minutes here. I don't know why. There's 2 hours here. Maupin is completely dishonest. Camel in my chat is absolutely fucking brain dead. Marble brained. Can't, he always has to misrepresent anything that I say. I say that ISIS was fought more by 2 different groups that were working in tandem than the SSNP fought, and he goes to, oh, so you're saying that Hamas in these fucking areas of Syria didn't exist? Yeah, well, guess what? It wasn't just in Syria that Rojava fought fucking ISIS. They fought it all across the region, helping America. All across the region. Everywhere. Not just in Syria. Everywhere. Places you weren't. Everywhere. So, yeah, you're wrong. I'm right. It's not Western propaganda when I get it from literally every source that's not Syrian. Because, of course, Syria has to fucking pump up their numbers and change their shit, when all other records say otherwise. But, no, it's Western propaganda, even though China recognized it. I wonder.